folks. Welcome to Education Matters. We have another week here of discussing issues with another candidate for state rep. We have Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez, I think that's how you say it. I'm
Yes.
sorry, with us today. And very important that you meet him and hear what he has to say as a candidate for state rep in District 45. And that includes Manchester's wards 10, 11, and 12, which I believe is on the west side.
That's correct.
That's
Yes,
right,
yeah.
west side representation. Okay. Well, Carlos, if you can just let us know a little bit about why you want to be state rep, and I believe you have been a state rep and represented your wards already.
Yes.
Four
yeah.
terms, you tell me. So you want to go back to Concord and represent the constituents of wards 10, 11, and 12 again.
Yes, and I had to say thank you very much to you for inviting me to this program. I do watch it on the Manchester Public Television, and I know that you bring different types of, I would say, professionals, including also politicians, who do talk about issues that do matter to the community. And I also had to say thank you for the work you are doing, because this is a very educational program, and it's very important for people to pay attention to any of the issues that have to do not just with education, but with the overall matters that have to do with the city. And that involves politics, particularly the mayor of the city, the school board, as well as the alderman. And I say thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to have you.
Yes.
Well, if you can just let us know a little bit about your legislative experience since you've been at the State House.
Yes. First of all, allow me to say that I am bilingual, and I speak English as my second language, which is basically I learned English after I've been speaking Spanish for all the childhood experience that I have, And I'm so happy that I can be here with you guys talking to you in English. It makes me proud. Mm-hmm. And I will pretty much say to anyone that comes from other nations to begin with learning the language. And when you are in Rome, you behave like a Roman. Hadn't I learned English and gotten my education, I would be probably in a lesser level, educationally and professionally. But remember one thing my mother used to tell me, my son, get your education. For once you get your education, nobody will take it away from you. So I strive and I listen to my mother. And that's my message that I would say to any one of the younger people that may be seeing this program, is get your education. For once you get your education, nobody will take it away from you. And not only that, you will excel in life, and then you will avoid many of those isms that many people talk about, discrimination, sexism, and so on and so on. You are educated, guess what? You are ready, and you are ready to tackle any issues and any kind of jobs that comes to you. But you have to get your education. So education matters. And that's why I like your program here.
Thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And, I had to also share with you that I know that 30 minutes can go by quick because you are the producer. My education, basically, I started in Ames, Iowa, which is where they normally hold the first caucus, the political caucus. And I was in Iowa State University. From there, then I came and I started to study at the University of New Hampshire. So I have been in both states that matter a lot to the United States of America politically, because it's the first caucus and New Hampshire is the first primary. And guess what? I happened to become involved in politics and I wasn't even thinking about doing it. So it is an honor that I have been elected 4 terms in District 45 now. I say District 45 now because with the new redistricting they did, all the numbers of the district have changed. But I have been elected 4 terms, and my original term when I got elected was in the year 2000, which you remember, the year 2000 was a big deal with the Y2K, and everybody was thinking that the whole world was going to crumble and business was going to be a mess. We survived. And we survived also because of technology and education. We are now in 2014, and I'm asking for you to vote for me, Carlos Gonzalez, on District 45, because I like to be able to make a difference and be able to go back to represent all of the people in Ward 12, Ward 11, and Ward 10. And I have been your representative before, and there is nothing that makes me happier than to represent you, the people, because I come from you, and I belong to you, and I will honorably represent you.
That's great.
Yeah. And I have to also, I know that you are thinking, you told me to say more, but in my education, basically, I have a degree, a master's in science from the University of New Hampshire. I also have specialty in leadership and business from Harvard, and also language training in specialty level from Dartmouth College. So my life in an overall picture, to summarize it, I do almost everything. And I'm glad that I have been able here in America to get as much education as I do, which have enabled me to be involved, to make a difference, and to be talking to you in English, which is something that I rehash to anybody. If you come to America, learn the language. It's very important to learn the language, because then you will be able to succeed.
And compete.
And
yes,
compete.
in the society. Well, that's great, Carlos. I'm really happy that you've had that opportunity in America, and so many others. It's there for them if they just want it.
Yes, yeah.
So when you went to the State House before, I mean, you must have tackled many issues there where, people would be interested in knowing about.
Yes, I had to go back to the issue of education. Responsible funding of education is very important, but you have to allow the local level to help out in the process and to allow enough funding for each one of the different districts in the state of New Hampshire. When we first got elected, and I say we because with me, many people also, 400 state reps were elected in the year 2000. We had a big responsibility with the educational funding mess that we had with the Claremont lawsuit.
The Claremont, right.
Yeah, and we had to tackle it, and we had to do it quick. And no matter what, as years go by, you still have residual problems. But we managed to do that in a responsible way without having to increase taxes, and also keeping government balance. You have to have the check and balances so that you don't have extreme expansions in the budget. I say extreme because when you have a budget that goes up by 10%, just to use it as an average, there is a lot of money that you have to find. And the only way for you to find the money is by increasing taxes and fees across the board, not just at the small towns, but also at the medium-sized towns and also at the largest city. And that involves small businesses and large businesses. And it takes the incentives away from them, and they leave the state of New Hampshire. And we cannot afford that to happen.
Can't afford to lose any more businesses, no, because we need the jobs to stay.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's a balance.
Yes, yeah.
balancing act, you know, and how to increase spending or resources for education, but be fair, and we try to do more with less sometimes.
Exactly.
And so Claremont, it helps to fund the schools, you know, fairly, equally, I guess you might say.
Yes, yeah.
And we do, and the schools, you know, have their local taxes, and
As I will say, you know, we had to, as legislators, you had to help the location where you come from, you know. And Manchester is one of the largest districts, and you have to compete. I mean, you don't like to use the word compete, but it's a competition. Every district, be from the north, from the east, the west, or the south, we all compete for the same pool of money, for the budgets for each town and each city. And that is what we are elected for. I believe in small government and keeping government small and honest. And it's very important that we also give incentive to small businesses and as well as the medium and large businesses so they can stay and grow and increase the numbers of jobs in New Hampshire. It is so fortunate that New Hampshire is the way it is that I like so much the motto, you know, live free or die. But this is one of the smallest states, but at the same time I had to share this with you. New Hampshire is well known all over the United States and all over the world because of the difference that it makes in comparison with all the largest states of America. It's one of the most efficiently run and one of the most educated states in the whole United States of America, and normally being on the top bracket, number first, second, third, when it comes to living standards. That speaks louder than words, that New Hampshire always fares on the top bracket of the most educated and the states that have and offer the best living standards in the whole United States and in the New England area.
and you want to keep it that way.
Definitely.
As well.
Definitely, yes, yeah.
So, do you foresee any legislation that, you know, I know there's legislation for, like the education or the roads and the bridges. I mean, they want to raise the taxes for the gasoline. It doesn't show right now because I believe that the powers that be are trying to keep the gasoline prices low just for the election. But after the election, guess what? They go back up again.
Well, yeah, I'm laughing because it's already done, you know, and it's very unfortunate, you know, that the prices of, well, the increase on the taxes for gas will be included. The justification basically was that we need to fund the roads and the infrastructures. For example, bridges, that many of those bridges are rusted and old looking. They need refurbishing or they need to be torn down completely and be replaced with new ones. To some extent, I had to agree that the budget and allocations for infrastructure is needed. But it goes back again to we don't need to over budget. The increase that they did, I was completely taken. And I am for small government. You know, let's put it this way. When people start to see the price of gas increasing and starting, if I believe it's in January or so of this coming year, right now we seem to be enjoying slow prices are slowing down, but we are still in the $3 bracket. Gas is not going to come below $3. And then with that increase in taxes already approved, you will see the bump, I would say, starts January and up, which is when we have in the middle of winter time. And we are in the middle of basically coming out of what I remember many people talk, the recession-like economies. And today, everything boils down to increasing the numbers of jobs and keeping businesses running,
Right.
which is exactly what we need to do here in New Hampshire. You increase taxes in gas, you will increase the prices of all the matters that go and have to do with industries. Because industries they need transportation, and they will pass the buck to all of us. When you buy the eggs, I use the eggs, when you buy the milk, and that's when you start to feel it when you go to the supermarket. You know, many people tell me, my goodness, $100 doesn't do anything anymore. You go to the shopping center and you come with just 2 or 3 bags. Well, it could be worse. That's why I believe in keeping government small, and I like to keep the New Hampshire advantage. No sales and no income tax. By the way, there were some negative attacks against me on this when I won the primary, saying that I didn't pledge for the New Hampshire advantage. I had to share with you, whether you sign it in paper or not, I happen to be busy because I had to make ends meet. I work. And I say I work because I had to do my job besides being as a legislator. And I happened to miss out on signing one of the papers that they sent me. But I am one strong believer of the New Hampshire advantage, and I will uphold it. The New Hampshire advantage with no sales and no income tax. And I also believe in helping the elderly people, women, and children who are disadvantaged because they need help the most. And when it comes to education, make no mistake, I am the product of education. And because of that, I'm a strong believer that we have to realistically fund education. We don't need to over budget, but we need to realistically fund education and pay attention to the requirements we have in the city of Manchester and any of the other cities that have to do with the state of New Hampshire. And it's very important that education basically be an umbrella. You know, in education, you have to allow room for innovation. You know, charter schools are there. You go south of the border, which is Massachusetts, and they don't have an issue with diversity in education. There are tons of charter schools. There are tons of programs that are all working together with the educational programs of the general education. Well, New Hampshire is not any different. New Hampshire is not any different. So
We need diversity.
We need diversity in the
Right.
educational field. It will
Not one size fits all.
exactly no one size fits all. You know, and we only have to look at other states. And the closest to us is Massachusetts. Now, many people don't like much Massachusetts. I happen to believe it's not about the state of Massachusetts. It's about our children. It's about the grandchildren. It's about also making sure that they get educated and they become responsible citizens as I am today. Because I want my children and my grandchildren, which are also your children and grandchildren, I want them to have the best education possible. You know, whether it's public education, like many people talk about it, public education, or whether it is charter schools or any of the different schools types that are there, readily available, and basically ready to help our children.
Exactly. That's great. Then we have, welfare and Medicaid expansion. These are some of the issues that, the candidates are talking about. you know, do we try to make it, everybody on one healthcare system? Obamacare, perhaps you might want to call it. And then we don't get choice for our doctors or choice for the hospitals. We have to stay in the network. We can't go out of the network because they're not going to pay. The prices of the premiums are skyrocketing. The deductibles are $5,000 and $10,000. Who can afford to have insurance and pay monthly, $600-800 a month, and still have to pay the deductible before the insurance kicks in?
Yeah.
That's just a little point of view I have on that.
Well, you know, one size fit all doesn't work, you know. And I had to be honest with you when it comes to politics. And this issue is one of the hot issues that we as politicians encounter, whether we are Republicans and whether we are Democrats. And I had to tell you that we share the blame in that we today have a Obamacare, if you want to call it Obamacare, because it took too long for the health system that we have to realize that it needed to become more affordable. I'm talking about the private health system we have prior to the Obamacare being fully implemented. And that's what happened when we politicians don't pay attention, whether they are Republicans or whether they are Democrats. We both share responsibility on that particular issue coming to reality, what we have today for Obamacare. And I say that because there is good, there are negative. The good part is that it increases the pool of people that will benefit from the health system. It will enable, they say, up to 47 more million people. Now, I have no problem with people that don't have health care or to be part of the system and to be able to benefit from the system. But at the same time, I believe in that we all have a common share and responsibility in paying for it. Yes, we have the Medicaid. The Medicaid was there before Obamacare. Now, the unfortunate part that we got into Obamacare today and is implemented and fully implemented, it goes back to the fact that people that are very well-intentioned politically felt that we needed to do more for the people that didn't have health insurance. And then there are those people that want to be efficient and want the system of health to be as quality health system as it was and still is, because still we haven't affected it completely. The result of the Obamacare will start to be felt in the near future. And within the next 5 years or so of the implementation, when you're going to start to see the result, and you will be able to have a more educated way of analyzing it. In the process of the implementation, it was a fiasco. Of course, like you said, the premiums and so on and so on, many of those things, it all depends on which state you were. Premiums skyrocket, and many people will bump from their health insurance. I have to share with you, it wasn't a good beginning, and I have to share with you that it was very unfortunate that it got approved by the federal government in a one party line. At the very first and the second year of the presidency of President Obama, when Democrats were both majority in the State House and the Senate. That's how Obamacare became functional and approved, and it was in a one-party line. And some people might not even realize it was all voted by the Democrats. No one single Republican voted for the Obamacare. unfortunately, that speaks louder than words about the divide that we have today in politics. And I believe that we have to turn the clock around. And I believe that we have to work together, because we should not get in the habit of either party just fully implementing their own agenda, whether it's the Republican or whether it's the Democrat. Because when you take decision making that are one-sided, you are very likely to create a big mess. And that's exactly what happened with the Obamacare. That still people, congressmen and senators, don't know what they voted for. They didn't even read the 2,000 plus pages of the Obamacare law before it was approved and fully implemented. And we are learning as the day go by what needs to go, what doesn't need to go. Is the premium correct or the premium is not correct? Am I getting the right answers? Well, it's because of what I call the war. If you try to do things in a monopoly basis, it doesn't work. You have to allow for the room of opinions and ideas to come together. And very likely, going back to what I told you before, the healthcare system as we knew before should have been better modified to also help those people that don't have health insurance. Unfortunately, politics have become too polarized, and being in a polarization does not help the common people, particularly the very same people we say that we want to help, which are the people that are disenfranchised, the people that don't have a good income, and people who are in disadvantage. We have to have a balance. We have to strike a balance at the state and the local level.
All right.
And I believe in small government, but we have to do it locally.
And we're going to bring those solutions, you're going to help bring those solutions and the discussions to Concord. Well, we have to wrap up here. So do you have a website or you have a Facebook page? Or?
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook page that you can find me. It's Carlos Gonzalez. And, you will see me there. I pretty much am a godly man. I have accepted Jesus as my Lord. And I don't mean to preach to you, but I am pretty much involved in my Facebook and in the city of Manchester and with District 45. So remember, on Tuesday, November 4th, please vote for Carlos Gonzalez.
Great.
It will be an honor to represent you again.
Thank you, Carlos. We have to wrap up, and we appreciate you coming on the show. I'm delighted to have interviewed you, and I just give you the best in your campaign. Yeah. All right. We'll see you folks next time on Education Matters. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you to you.